Good day, I'm Abalore. On today's episode, we'll be looking at cross price elasticity of demand. So, with respect to that, we'll be looking at the definition, the measurements, and also we're going to be looking at the types of cross price elasticity of demand. And after all the explanation is done, we're going to be looking at practical questions to illustrate all that we've talked about. Then also, an homework will be given for you all to practice with, right? Because, like I will usually say, that your brain loves practice, right? Practice makes perfect, right? So let's get started with the definition. So when we say cross price elasticity of demand, it explains that goods have relationship, that goods are interrelated and interdependent. And when we say goods are interdependent or interrelated, we actually mean complementary goods or substitute goods. So for substitute goods, basically, they are those goods that usually have, not usually, they always have positive relationship. And positive relationship in the sense that increase in the price of one will lead to increase in the demand for another substitute good. And decrease in the price of one will lead to decrease in the demand for another substitute good. And a good example of that is, let's say, iPhone and Samsung. They are substitute good. In fact, they are close substitute. Although we're going to be delving heavily as regards substitute complementary good, but just a taste of it now. All right. So substitute goods have positive relationship, meaning that when the price of one changes, it affects the demand for other substitute goods. And for complementary goods, they have negative relationship. Negative relationship in the sense that increase in the price of one will lead to decrease in the demand for another complement goods or complementary goods, and decrease in the price of one complementary good will lead to increase in the demand for another complementary good. So that denotes a negative relationship because increase in the price of one will lead to decrease in the demand for another, and decrease in the price of one will lead to increase in the demand for another. And a good example of complementary goods, we have, let's say, car and petrol. When the price of car rises, the demand for petrol decreases. And we get to talk about that, like I said, as we get along. So the concept of cross price elasticity of demand is just saying that goods have some sort of correlation or relationship, and that means a change in the price of one commodity will affect the demand for another related commodity that have some sort of correlation or relationship. And when we say goods are interrelated, it may possibly mean that one good can be substituted for the other. That means can be used to fill in for the other. Let's say coffee and tea, like I did cite it, iPhone and Samsung. Complementary goods. You have to buy A in order to make the purchase of the usage of B complete, basically. So that's basically with respect to complementary, because for you to drive your car around, you need to power it with gasoline, that's petrol. So to define cross price elasticity of demand now, it measures the reaction of change in the demand for one product due to change in the price of another related of products. So cross price elasticity of demand is saying that, like, it measures the reaction, the magnitude, the extent, the level, the size of change in the demand for one product due to change in the price of another related product. So when the price of iPhone changes by, let's say, 5%, what will be the effect of that change on the demand for Samsung? Will it be the same 5%? Will it be more than that 5%? Will it be less than that 5%? So the concept that explains that when there is a change in the price of one product, it will affect the demand for other related products that have some sort of correlation is cross price elasticity of demand. So I hope with respect to the definition, the meaning, you all get that. All right. So that's with respect to the meaning of cross price elasticity of demand. So let's come down to how cross price elasticity of demand is measured. So to measure cross price elasticity of demand, don't forget I did say it has to do with how change in the price of one commodity affects the demand for another commodity. That's another related commodity. They have some sort of relationship, correlation like that. So to measure it, so we are the instance here or the assumption here is that change in the price of B will affect the demand for commodity A. That's the assumption here. So you could have change in the price of iPhone will affect the demand for Samsung, but we're just using letters here. That's B and A. So it is measured as cross price elasticity of demand. It is measured as percentage change in the demand for commodity A divided by percentage change in the price of B. So what this means is that any change in the price of commodity B will lead to a change in the demand for commodity A. And that's basically that. And this percentage change in the price of B is considered the independent variable. An independent variable determines dependent variable. So the dependent variable in this regard is percentage change in the demand for commodity A. So any change in the price of B will affect or will cause a change in the demand for commodity A. And that's that. So this is the dependent variable while this is the independent variable. And dependent variable is determined by independent variable. And independent variable determines dependent variable. So that's that. So this measurement, like we have it expressed or defined here, is synthesized and summarized to this. So cross price elasticity of demand for commodity A and B, that's with respect to the formula we're going to be using to solve questions that relate to cross price elasticity of demand. So for commodity A and B now, the synthesized form of this is this. So it's expressed as change in the quantity of A divided by change in the price of B dots, that's times old price of B divided by old quantity of A. And to get change in any variable, that's the new minus the old. So if you want to get change in the quantity of A, that's the new quantity of A minus the old quantity of A. And if you want to get change in the price of B, that's the new price of B minus the old price of B. And with respect to the old price of B, you'll be given in the question that will be given, and old quantity of A, that is usually also given in the question. So you substitute, multiply, and get the cross price elasticity of demand. So we're going to be putting to practice practical questions basically. But before that, we have this to talk about because most times students are often required after they've gotten the cross price elasticity coefficient to interpret it, whether the two goods in question are perhaps substitute goods, complement goods, or they are unrelated goods. All right. So with respect to the interpretation, so this explanation will make a lot of sense regarding that. So you've got to pay careful attention and endeavor to watch this video to the end, right? Because an homework will also be given alongside after a practical question has been solved. All right, so stay tuned. So let's start off with types of cross price elasticity of demand. So basically, there are three types. Excuse me. There are three types of cross price elasticity of demand. Although some, are of the opinion that just two, but basically three. All right, because there are goods that have no relationship whatsoever. That means a change in the price of one will have no effect whatsoever on the demand for another product, and that's with respect to unrelated good, and that's where you have constants. But that aside, so we're still coming back to this. So let's start off with positive. So we have positive, negative, and constants. All right. So let's start off with positive cross price elasticity of demand. So goods that usually have positive cross price elasticity of demand are called substitute goods. And substitute goods are goods that give either the same satisfaction or similar satisfaction. the same or similar. That's with respect to substitute good. And substitute good, basically, they can be used in place of another. That's what it means. One can be used to fill in for the other. A good example is tea and coffee, iPhone and Samsung, Coke and Pepsi, and all that. Oxford and Harvard, Unilag and OAU. That's Obafemi Awolowo University. And the list is endless, right? So you could also think of you know, examples you could cite with respect to substitute goods. That means two goods that can be used in place of another or instead of the other. That's that. So what we mean by substitute goods have positive relationship is that a change in the price of one commodity will affect the demand for other commodity. That's what we mean by that. But with respect to that positive, we mean if the price of one substitute increases, it will also lead to increase in the demand for another substitute good. So increase, increase. They are going the same direction. That's positive relationship. And on the contrary, decrease in the price of one substitute good will lead to decrease in the demand for another substitute good. So decrease, decrease. That's decrease in the price of one will lead to decrease in the demand for another substitute good. Well, it's based on the phrase ceteris paribus. All of the factors must be held constant. That's one of the assumptions that must be talked about with respect to having a positive relationship between substitute goods, basically. So that's what we mean by positive relationship. So substitute goods, like I did explain, they have positive relationship, and it is further subdivided or classified into three. That's substitute goods. So perfect substitute, close substitute, and poor substitute. So you need to pay careful attention here. Very important, because while you're interpreting the cross price elasticity coefficient you've gotten as regards a question being given, then your interpretation matters a lot. It's of it's of importance, because your coefficient which you've gotten must match up with the interpretation for you to be able to say you deeply understand these concepts very well. Right. So let's start off with perfect substitute. So perfect substitutes, they give the same satisfaction, equal satisfaction. So in all ramifications, be it price, taste, quality, the list is endless. Perfect substitute, they are the same. So the cross price elasticity coefficient for perfect substitute is infinitely elastic. It's perfectly elastic. That's basically what we mean. And for you to get perfectly elastic, it means you will have something of this nature. Let's say 1 divided by 0. Any number divided by 0 is perfectly elastic, is infinity. That's basically what that means. So for perfect substitute, a good example is, let's say we have two retail outlets opposite each other that sell the same products. Or let's say, for example, lots of retail outlets. Maybe a market is segmented. Let's put it that way. We have a market in Lagos. It's Mushin Market. So we have most times pepper sellers. So there are usually lots of them. And that market is considered a perfect market because not almost, all the sellers, they sell the same pepper and at the same market price. So if one of them decides to reduce its price, then the demand for all of the perfect substitute seller will reduce to zero or nearly zero, basically. So a fall in the price of perfect substitute will reduce the demand for other perfect substitute to nearly zero or zero. That's that. So with respect to the cross price elasticity coefficient for perfect substitute, it is considered infinitely elastic or perfectly elastic. That's what we mean by that. So I hope that is understood. Good. Then close substitute. Close substitute. By that we mean two goods can be used in place of another. Remember, I did say here that the satisfaction you get from perfect substitute is exactly the same. But here, the two goods or three goods that are close substitute, they give similar satisfaction. So in terms of price, they may be the same. In terms of taste, not the same. All right, so not the same product here, but here the same product, no difference whatsoever with respect to perfect substitute. But here, in terms of price, they may be the same. In terms of quality, well, let's limit that to consumers' taste. I may prefer Milo, you may prefer Bonfita, but Milo and Bonfita, they are close substitutes because increase in the price of Milo will lead to increase in the demand for Bonfita, ceteris paribus, all things being equal, just like iPhone, Samsung, and all that. So close substitute give similar satisfaction, not the same. All right, so a change in the price of one close substitute, let's say by 5%, will lead to a more proportional change in the demand for another close substitute. So if iPhone decides to increase its price by, let's say, 10%, that may lead to a more proportional change in the demand for Samsung by maybe 20%, 30%, and all that. And that's considered to be greater than one because the relationship, the correlation between substitute good, that's close substitute now, is considered to be strong and usually very high. All right, so when you have a case of, let's say, 1.2, 1.5, 1.7, 2, and all that, then it's greater than 1. So the type of goods that usually have that this type of cross price elasticity of demand is considered close substitutes. So I hope that is understood. So a good example, you could have iPhone and Samsung, Coke and Pepsi, they are close substitutes. Harvard and Oxford, Unilag and OAU, and all other examples you could think of, right? So that's basically with respect to close substitute. I hope that is understood. Good. So the cross price elasticity coefficient is greater than 1 but less than infinity. That's for close substitutes. I hope that is understood. Good. Then poor substitute now. For poor substitute, we are considering two products now. One is superior than the other. One is inferior and the other is superior. That's with respect to poor substitute. So of two goods, one is said to be superior when in terms of price, service, the quality basically, it's superior or it's better than the poor substitute or the inferior goods in question. So let's say, for example, no offense to anybody, right? Let's say the educational services, that's Oxford and Unilag, they are both great institutions, all right? So the educational services that Oxford and Unilag offer are kind of the same. They are the same because they are both into educational services. So the quality of the educational services that Oxford offers is way better than that of Unilag, all right? And Unilag students are going to be happy with this example that I'm about to cite now. Let's say Unilag educational services is kind of quality than that of KWASU, that's Kwara State University. And Kwara State University, no offense, all right? I don't mean to offend anybody, all right? Just an instance, all right? And you all could argue, with yourself whether Kwasu Educational Services is better than that of Unilag. I don't know. Just saying. So that's with respect to poor substitute. Of two goods, the service that one renders is far or way better than that of the other inferior goods in question. And like I did say, Oxford and Unilag, because Oxford is considered one of the best universities in the world. Yeah, one of the best universities in the world. Yeah, that's Oxford. So Unilag is also one of the best universities in the world, but in Africa. Okay, so the cross price elasticity coefficient for poor substitute is considered less than 1 but greater than 0. So what that means is that a change in the price of, let's say, Oxford tuition fee will lead to little change in the demand for its products. That's basically what that means. So the demand for its products will not really change like that, whereby people will now have to leave going to Oxford and go to attend Unilag, basically. So it will reduce by a little or by no amount at all. That's with respect to superior good in question. I keep saying Oxford, but I wanted to say Harvard too, because the two goods are the two institutions, the two great institutions. They are close substitute basically. But with respect to Harvard and Unilag, you all know what that means. I'm not going to dwell on that any longer. So that's with respect to that. So less than 1 but greater than 0, that's the cross price elasticity coefficient for cross substitutes. So I hope that is understood good. So when one good is of quality than the other, the one that is of quality is considered superior, and the one that is of less quality is considered the poor substitute or inferior goods in question. So that's sorted out, I guess. So for positive cross price elasticity of demand, goods that usually have such is substitute goods. And we did say substitute goods can be used to fill in for the other. They can be used in the place of another. That's what we mean by that. And we did say it's further classified into perfect, close, and poor substitute. This, the cross price elasticity coefficient is infinitely elastic or perfectly elastic. This is greater than 1 but less than infinity, while this is less than 1 but greater than 0. Negative cross price elasticity of demand. So goods that usually have negative cross price elasticity of demand are called complementary or joint goods. So joint goods are jointly demanded, they are jointly purchased because they are complementary in nature. The purchase of one will complete the usage of the other. So a good example is car and petrol. If you buy car, you need to buy petrol, that's gasoline, in order for you to be able to drive your car around. That's that. So you could have gas cylinder and gas. You could have, okay, a good example is marker board and marker, because I need to get this marker in order for me to be able to write on this board. That's the marker board. So you could have shirts and trousers. You could have skirts and blouse. You can have touch and battery, and so on and so forth. So those are examples of complementary goods. So when you buy one, you need to buy the other, because the other will complete the usage of the first uh, product which you have purchased. That's that. So complementary goods, they have negative relationship or inverse relationship. And by that we mean increase in the price of one will lead to decrease in the demand for another complementary goods. And decrease in the price of one complementary good will lead to increase in the demand for another complementary goods. So this a good example, let's say car and petrol. If the price of car reduces, then what that means is that many people will buy car. And many people having cars now, that means they will need gasoline, that's petrol, to be able to power it and drive it around. So with that, the demand for petrol we shoot up. That means we skyrocket. That means it's to increase basically. That's that. So decrease in the price of one will lead to increase in the demand for another complementary goods. And increase in the price of, let's say the price of car rises. What that means is that not many people will be able to afford buying cars. And with that, the demand for car, that's the quantity demanded for car will reduce. Then by that, not since not many people have cars now, then the demand for petrol will decrease. That's that. So decrease in the price of one will lead to increase in the demand for another, and increase in the price of one will lead to decrease in the demand for another complementary goods, and that's negative or inverse relationship. So that's with respect to complementary or negative cross price elasticity of demand. So I hope that is understood. Good. Then lastly, constants. Constants means in economics, it means zero basically. So goods that usually have constants, zero means no relationship. And you can see here, unrelated goods usually have constant cross price elasticity of demand. So in this case, we're saying that two goods have no relationship whatsoever. So a change in the price of one will have no effect whatsoever on the demand for another good. So let's say change in the price of, let's say, orange, causing a change in the demand for car. No, that's not possible because they have no relationship whatsoever. So it's not going to have, that means the change in the price of orange is not going to have any effect, or you know maybe it's not going to have any effect on the demand for car. Basically, that's that. So the relationship uh, that of that's no relationship. It's constant. No relationship is constant. That's zero, and those type of goods are called unrelated goods. So should you arrive at your cross price elasticity coefficient as positive, you are going to interpret that as substitute goods. Then it's further classified into days. I think I've shared more than enough light on this. Then when you arrive at negative cross price elasticity of demand, you are going to interpret that as complementary goods or joint goods. And lastly, when you arrive at zero as your cross price elasticity coefficient, you are going to interpret that as unrelated goods or products. So that's sorted out, I guess. I hope you all understand it, because the next segment now is for us to put to practice all that we've learned regarding the explanation and all that. So shall we? So I think I have to do justice to the board. So uh, I have two-dimensional questions here. The first is written and the second is given in tabular form. So that will be displayed on the screen for you all to see. So question one, I'll read. Use the information below to answer questions A and B. When commodity X is sold for 25 naira per unit, 50 units of commodity Y were purchased. Those are the initial price of X and the initial quantity of Y. That's the new, the old price of X and the old quantity of Y. That's what that means. With an increase in the price of commodity X to 50 naira per unit, the demand for commodity Y fell to 20 units. That's the new price of X, that's 50 naira. And the new quantity of Y is 20 units. So I think that is sorted out. Then we are asked to determine the cross elasticity of demand. That's getting the elasticity coefficient. That's the cross price elasticity coefficient. Then B, the two commodities can be classified as, that's interpreting the cross price elasticity coefficient that we've gotten. That's what that means. So let's do justice to the question. So solution. So the two products in question is X and Y. So we have cross elasticity of demand for X and Y. So to get the formula now, the formula we're going to be using, just like I put there, is change in quantity of, so Y is carrying the quantity, YX is carrying the price. So change in the quantity of Y divided by change in the price of X times old price of X divided by old quantity of y. So this is what we have. So we have to get all these variables first. So let's get that. So let's get change in the quantity of y. So change in the quantity of y. That's the new quantity of y minus the old quantity of y. So the new quantity of y is 20 units, like I explained earlier. So it's 20 minus the old quantity of y is 50 units. So 20 minus 50, that gives us minus 30 units. That's what you have. Then let's get change in the price of x. So change in the price of x. The new price of x is 50 naira, because we were told that with an increase in the price of commodity x to 50 naira. So 50 naira is what we have as the new price. Then minus the old price of x is 25 naira. So 50 minus 25, that gives us 25 naira. So this is what we have. Then the old price of x, old price of x is 25 naira. That's what we have. Because we were told that when commodity x is sold for 25 naira, that's the initial price, the old price. Initial is the same thing as old. Then the old quantity of y, the old quantity of y is 50 units. 50 units. Then having gotten all these variables, then let's plot it in this formula and get our cross price elasticity coefficient for commodity x and y. So what we have, so cross elasticity of demand for x and y is, so we have 30 minus 30, do not forget, is minus, then divided by 25. So we got this change in the quantity, change in the price of x to be 25. Then old price of x, we've gotten that as 25. So 25 divided by the old quantity of y, we got that as 50. So this is basically what we have. So let's do the multiplication. Minus 30 times 25. Excuse me. So minus 30 times 25. That gives us 750 minus 750 divided by 50 times 25. That gives us 1,250. So our answer is going to be negative. That's 750 minus 750 divided by 1,250. That gives us minus 0.6. So minus 0.6 is the cross price elasticity coefficient for commodity x and y. So this is what we have. That's x and y. Then the B part requires us to classify the two commodities. So the B parts now. So this is the A parts. The A parts. Then the B parts now. So since the cross price elasticity coefficient is having a negative sign, and what that means is, who can guess? Who can try, uh, tell us what the interpretation is going to be, or the classification of these two goods, X and Y? One, two, going, gone. So that's complementary goods or joint goods. So it's interpreted as complementary, complementary slash joint, joint goods. So that's that. So joint or complementary goods, that's the interpretation. So I hope this is understood. All right, very good. So that's sorted out. Then the question two now. Question two. Let's solve question two now. So that will be displayed on the screen for you all to see. Given the demand schedule for the following table, for the following product, sorry, given the demand schedule for the following products. So we have Coke and Pepsi. Coke is carrying price, Pepsi is carrying quantity. And the second product we have car and gasoline. Gasoline, then car is carrying the price, then gasoline is carrying the quantity. So the new price of Coke is $5. The old price of Coke is $4. The new quantity for Pepsi is 100 units. Then the old quantity for Pepsi is 70 units. Then for car, we're going to get out there. So solution, solution. So uh, products, products, Coke, Coke, and Pepsi. That's the two products we want to calculate. So to get the formula, so cross elasticity of demand for Coke, I denote Coke with letter C. I need to write the C in capital letter so that Coke company will not sue me. And Pepsi is going to be in capital letter. So this will be, since Pepsi is carrying quantity, then we're going to have change in the quantity of Pepsi divided by change in the price of Coke times old price of Coke divided by old quantity. This dot not zero means old quantity of Pepsi. That's what you have. So having done this, then let's get to the variables. So change in the price or quantity of petrol Pepsi, sorry, Pepsi. So it's new minus old. So it's 100. The new is 100 minus 70. That gives us 30 units. Then change in the price of Coke. That's $5 minus $4. Then that gives us $1. Then old price of Coke. Old price of Coke. That's $4. Then old quantity of Pepsi. That is 70 units. So I haven't gotten all this. Let's slot it into the formula and get our cross price elasticity coefficient for Coke and Pepsi. So cross price elasticity of demand for Coke and Pepsi. So we have 30. We got change in the quantity of Pepsi to be 30, change in the price of Coke to be 1 divided by 1 times the old price of Coke is 4. Then the old quantity for Pepsi is 70. Then 30 times 4, that gives us 120 divided by 1 times 70, that's 70. So 120 divided by 70, that gives us 1.7, I guess. I have to be sure, right? Very important. 120 divided by 70. Okay, that's 1.7. I hope this is understood. So this is the first part of the question because we are asked to calculate the A part. Calculate the cross elasticity of demand for Coke and Pepsi. So this is what we've done regarding that. So the B part, interpret your result in A above. So to interpret the result, that is the B part. This is the A part. So the B part now, to interpret it, someone should do that for us. Based on the explanation I've given so far, all right? This is positive and it is greater than 1. So it will be interpreted as substitute goods. The two goods are substitute goods. Then under the classification, is it perfect, is it close, or poor substitute? 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, okay? That's close substitute because the relationship is usually strong, like greater than 1 but less than infinity. So that will be interpreted as close substitute. And based on the explanation I gave earlier, that Coke and Pepsi, they are close substitutes. They are close. The relationship is so strong, so strong. Then that's with respect to Coke and Pepsi. Then let's do justice to car and gasoline. So I have to rub up this part. I hope you all are getting the gist of what we're trying to the concept we're trying to apply here. You just put your comments in the section. Right. Let's have your feedback regarding what we're doing at Echo Plaza Boy and how we could do it much more better for you all understanding. All right. So that's by the way. So let's go for car and gasoline. So products, car and gasoline. Gasoline means petrol. So the cross price elasticity of demand for car, C with car, then G with gasoline, is going to be expressed as change in the quantity of. So since gasoline is having quantity, we are going to have G divided by change in the price of car, that's C, times old price of car divided by old quantity of gasoline. So this is what we have. I hope this is understood. It's simple, all right? Just follow it. You're going to get it, all right? And you can always replay the video if you didn't quite get it the first time, all right? So let's get this variable. So change in the quantity of gasoline. So it's always new minus old. So we have 300 minus 250. That gives us 50. 50 units. 50 units. That's what we have. 50 units. Then changing the price of car. That's $4,000. That's a new price minus $5,000. And that gives us negative $1,000. That's what we have. It's negative. You have to make sure you include the negative when you have a negative answer with respect to the change in any of the variables. So then old price of car, that's 4,000, sorry, that's $5,000, $5,000. Then old quantity of gasoline, that's 250 units. 250 units. So now that we've gotten all these variables, then let's slot them into this formula and get our cross price elasticity coefficient for car and gasoline. So cross price elasticity of demand for car and gasoline is expressed as, so we have 50 divided by negative 1,000 times 5,000 divided by 250. So this is what we have. So 50 times 5,000. Let's do that using our calculator. 5,000 times 50. That's, let me finish it up here. That's 250,000 divided by minus 1,000 times 250. 250 times minus 1,000, that gives us minus 250. So 250,000 divided by minus 250,000, that's going to give us minus 1. Minus 1, that's basically what we have. So this is the cross elasticity of demand for car and gasoline to be negative minus 1. So that's it. The A part. Then the B part requires us to interpret the results. So to interpret is now, I think at this juncture now, someone should be able to interpret this for us. So in a couple of seconds, I want that done by someone watching right now. 1, 2, going, gone. Okay, so this is the A part. Then the B part. The B part. I heard someone said, substitute, is that substitute? Did you say substitute? Okay. It's not substitute because this is not having a positive coefficient. So it's complementary goods. It's complementary. So the two goods are complementary. Complementary. or joint goods, because the cross price elasticity coefficient is negative. That's basically that. So that's the solution to the questions. I think these are standard questions that we enhance and reinforce your understanding of the concept we've talked about regarding the explanation and all that. So this is where we're going to be drawing the curtain. Unless I forget, this is the homework which you all should try, put your best foot forward by trying to do justice to it. Just follow the way we've gone about this, right? It's easy peasy, all right? Just, your brain loves practice, like I will always emphasize, all right? It loves practice. You have to, practice for you to get better at what you do, basically. So, uh, I don't want to stress that, that long. Then let's uh, get that display on the screen. So that will be displayed on the screen: Unilag, Oxford, Touch, and battery. So you have to calculate the cross price elasticity of demand for Unilag and Oxford. Then Touch and battery. So you calculate the cross price elasticity of demand. And also, the B part requires is to interpret your results in A above. So you should interpret your results just like we've done here, and in other questions we solve. All right. So that is displayed on the screen as I speak. So this is where we're going to be dropping off the conversation. Thank you all for your time. We really do appreciate everyone for your time, and the fact that you stuck with me this far really means you so much like this video. Why don't you push the like button? And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please kindly do. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that each time we put out a video, you will get notified immediately. And to everyone who has been supportive, we really do appreciate your unflinching support. Keep supporting us. Let's make this community a great one by helping to share our videos to friends and relatives whom this video might be of great help to them. And I wish you all an excellent journey in your academics. Do have a good one. I will see you when you see me. Bye bye.